everybody. Good afternoon to our distinguished guests, our chairman, Mr. Yang, our director, Mr. An. I'm very pleased and very proud to formally launch this unique event of the China Culture Month at Adama. While discussing with Efrat what should I say as opening remarks, I decided that I would look back 10 years ago and figure out what to say. You're probably asking yourself, why 10 years? So let me share with you a very short note, very personal, and my special connection to China and why am I standing here today. So when I was a very young student, believe it or not, I used to be young, I studied political science at the Tel Aviv University. At that time, there was a very notable professor over there named Professor Eli Yoffe, who taught about the modern history of China. My father was then working with Chinese, and he said to me, China is going to be the future of the world. I urge you to take a course about China. So as you all know, I'm a very good girl. I took a course about China. This was the most amazing course at the university at that time. Just imagine a professor from Jerusalem coming to Tel Aviv and his class is full. This was very, very unique. Now, he taught us about the modern history from Deng Xiaoping to Mao Zedong to the Cultural Revolution and the relationship between the army and the political situation in China. During his lectures, he repeatedly mentioned three, I would say, notable elements of the Chinese culture, which he believed were a part of something we were all supposed to know. And he said, if you remember those three values, you will be able, a little bit, somehow, maybe understand the Chinese culture. The main three elements that he mentioned were A, China and Chinese look forward for the long term, very long term. Second of all, respect. You need to understand the relation to respect in the Chinese culture. They will respect you as long as you respect them. And three, you need to have a lot of patience. Patience. Okay, I then graduated my first degree, went on with my life, and probably things doesn't happen because for no reason. It took 30 years when in 2008 I was asked by Chen to travel to Beijing to discuss an ordinary course of business collaboration between Adama and ChemChina. Chen prepared the trip ahead, everything was ready. Nobody imagined the surprise that was waiting for us when we stepped into the meeting with Chairman Ren. Apparently, the collaboration was on the table, but there was another small issue on the table. The first proposal to acquire the control at מכתשים then in 2008. As you all know, 2008, no transaction happened. It took additional 3 years, remember patience, before we concluded the transaction. When the transaction was concluded, I continued my role as secretary of the board, but at that time, under the leadership of Chairman Yang, Chairman Reng, who's not with us, Mr. An, and Mr. Robert Liu. We came all to the transaction as Israelis. Now, what are we as Israelis if we don't want things to get done immediately? We have patience? I'm not sure, and with respect, let's not relate to it now. So at that time, I remembered what Professor Yoffe had taught me when I was a young student at the university. So those elements and those values that were taught to me as a young student helped me during the 10 years I've had the pleasure to work together with ChemChina, with our partners, under the leadership of Chairman Yang. So standing here in front of you after 30 years, looking at all the achievements and everything that we were able to share with ChemChina, not only did I take the values with me, but I learned more, and I hope we were able also to share some of our cultures, so both sides have adopted and have benefited from that. So looking forward to a collaborative future, laying on the success we have all enjoyed until now, and hoping for another better future. I ask Chairman Yang to the podium.
谢谢刚才米歇尔这个致辞，我听了以后也是非常高兴。
Thank you, Miha, for your inspiring speech. It gives me great pleasure to hear it. Thank you.
那个在我们犹太新年以及这个赎罪日、祝棚节到来，或者是正在这个经过之际啊，我首先向大家表示节日的这个祝福吧。
Well, Mr. Yang said that on this auspicious occasion of Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, and Sukkot, please accept my sincere and heartfelt wishes.
今天我也是非常高兴和大家一起参加中国主题乐的活动。首先，我想这个代表中国化工，我也欢迎我们这个阿达玛的各位同事，也欢迎我们新华社、光明日报的这个朋友们参加今天的这个活动。
Yes, I'm very pleased to join you in celebrating the Chinese Theme Month. And first of all, on behalf of Camp China, I would like to extend my warmest welcome to all the colleagues here from Adama and also from Xinhua News Agency and the relevant newspapers. Welcome to the opening ceremony of the Chinese Theme Month.
现在我们中国化工在全球有16万多职工，这些职工分布在全球100多个国家和地区。这个是我们中国化工最宝贵的财富，所以加强我们不同企业员工之间的这种认知、理解、沟通和融合，是我们主办这个文化月活动的主要的目的。
As of today, Camp China has a total number of employees of 160,000 spread over more than 100 countries and regions in the world in a display of great diversity, which is the most valuable asset we have. To strengthen correct perception, understanding, communication, and integration of our employees with very different cultural background is the main purpose of these cultural month activities.
我们已经先后在北京举办了意大利的主题乐、法国主题乐、以色列的主题乐。通过以色列的这个主题乐活动，我们体验到了以色列悠久的历史、古老的文明、独特的宗教信仰以及文化生活、强大的创业创新精神。
So to date, we have successfully organized the Italian Theme Month, French Theme Month, and the Israeli Theme Month in this April in Beijing. Through the Israeli Theme Month events, Camp China employees, both at home and abroad, all had a chance to experience Israel's profound history, ancient civilization, unique religious and cultural life, and a strong entrepreneurial and innovation spirit.
今天我们开幕的这个中国文化月活动，也将展示中国5000多年的这个古老文化以及现代化的发展成果，使大家能够感受到古老与现代、人文与自然、传承与创新的中国风貌。同时，大家也能够看到中国的传统美食马兰拉面，让我们以色列的这个同事能够品尝一下这个舌尖上的中国。
The Israeli Culture Month, which is unveiled today, will display China's 5,000 years of ancient culture and civilization and showcase the fruits of China's modernization drive. Everyone can have a closer look at an appreciation of China that combines history with modern development, humanity, and the natural world, inheritance, and innovation. We have also brought from China tens of thousands of miles away one of our traditional cuisine, Malan hand-pulled noodles, to this event. And we'd like to invite you to try a bite of China.
说到中国文化，大家可能会问我一个问题：中国文化是什么呢？刚才这个米歇尔这个女士，她做了她自己对于中国文化的理解。
talking about Chinese culture, you may ask, what is Chinese culture? And I think Miha has her own interpretation of what Chinese culture to her means, and we just listened to that.
中国文化博大精深，我想不同的人可能有不同的这种解释。我从我对中国文化的这个理解，对中国文化，我想主要还是从中国人所信仰的儒家文化开始发展。这里面有我们几千年积累下来的一些经验性的一些东西。
Well, Chinese culture is too broad and profound to be exhausted by just a few examples. As far as I understand, Chinese culture has basically originated from the Confucius culture we Chinese believe in. It has been the rich result of thousands of years of accumulation. Good understanding of Chinese culture is not only crucial to understand China as a whole, but also critical to solve many challenges confronted by the world today.
中国文化的特点之一是重视家庭。中国人在世代之间联系的认识上，重视家庭的传承，看重光宗耀祖、传宗接代。
One of the characteristics of Chinese culture is that we think very highly of families. Chinese always value greatly family continuity and heritage, which is very much about bringing honor to one's ancestors, carrying on the family line.
二是在中国人际关系当中有非常重要的一条，就是不光要想到自己，还要想到别人。中国有一句古话叫“老吾老以及人之老，幼吾幼以及人之幼，设身处地，推己及人。”
Second, one of the most important aspects of Chinese interpersonal relationships is that one should not only think about themselves, but also think about others. As the Chinese saying goes, expand the respect of the aged in one's family to that of the other families. Expand the love of the young ones in one's family to that of other families. This is essentially about putting one's feet into others' shoes or placing oneself in others' position.
三是中国人认为任何事情都有正反两个方面，任何事物都与其对立面不可分离，尽管它们相互对立，但是也是可以共存的。比如中国对香港的一国两制，就是这种思维方式的体现。一国两制不仅具有政治上的意义，而且是不同的东西能不能相容共处。这就是中国骨子里还有可以把不同的东西凝合在一起，可以出现对立面的统一。
Third, Chinese believe that everything has two sides, one positive side and one negative side. These two sides, opposing to each other as they are, also coexist with each other. A good example here is the one country, two system mechanism we have designed for Hong Kong. Our successful practice of one country, two systems not only has great political relevance, but also proves that different things can coexist with each other. Such is the power of Chinese culture, I believe, that can rally and integrate different things to make them a unity of opposing elements.
四是各美其美，美人之美的思想，要能够从别人和自己不同的东西中间发现美的东西，才能真正的美人之美，形成一个发自内心的感情深处的认知和欣赏。只有这样才能够相互包容，产生凝聚力。
The fourth characteristics of Chinese culture is about understanding yourself and discovering your own form of beauty and befriending others and appreciating others' forms of beauty. We shall be able to discover the beauty in the difference other people have from ourselves so as to really understand and appreciate others' beauty wholeheartedly. Only in this way can we be inclusive with others and create great cohesion.
五是中国文化面向长远，秉持长期的思维，能够将短期的目标与长远的战略融为一起。比如说，中国的一带一路倡议就是中国长期战略的一个例子。
Last but not least, Chinese culture respects and advocates long-term strategic thinking. Hence, we are able to best combine and accommodate short-term objectives with long-term strategies. A best example in this regard is the Belt and Road Initiative we are implementing.
大家都知道，中国文明孕育了古代的4大发明：指南针、火药、造纸术和印刷术，推动了世界科技和文明的进步。今天，来自“一带一路”沿线的20多个国家的青年，评选出了新的4大发明：高铁、支付宝、共享单车和网购。这是新时代中国继续推动世界科技和文明进步的标志。
Chinese culture has been the cradle for the 4 great inventions from the ancient times: compass, gunpowder, papermaking, and the printing technologies, all of which have been drivers for the progress of science, technology, and civilization in the world. Today, we have the 4 new great inventions. What are they? High-speed trains, Alipay, bicycle sharing, and online shopping, according to the results of voting by youngsters from 20 different countries along the Belt and Road countries. These 4 new great inventions are again a symbol of China's contribution to the progress of science, technology, and civilization in today's modern world.
以色列文化和中国文化都尊重历史与传统，重视教育与文化，既脚踏实地，又勇于创新。今年是中以建交25周年。中以建交以来，双方各方面的合作一直在深入推进，人文交流也日益密切。应该说，中国和以色列之间的创新合作，更是推动了两国之间的友好交往。
Israeli culture and Chinese culture are alike very much. We both respect history and tradition, pay great attention to education and cultural development. We both are down to earth, while at the same time dare to innovate. This year marks the 25th anniversary of the establishment of the diplomatic relationships between China and Israel. Ever since then, China and Israel have witnessed steady progress in their pragmatic bilateral cooperation, increasingly closer and deeper people-to-people and cultural exchanges. Increasingly and more importantly, innovative partnership has greatly promoted the friendly relationship and mutual trust between the 2 countries.
安刀妹加入中国化工7年来，尽管受到近3年农化行业周期性低谷的影响，但是在我们安刀妹全体员工的努力下，逆势增长，独领风骚，让我们倍感自豪。
This year is the 7th anniversary of Adama's accession of ChemChina family. In spite of all the obstacles as a result of the cyclical evolution of the world's agrochemical industry during the last 3 years, we have been outperforming the other agrochemical industry peers and stood head and shoulders above these industrial peers thanks to the great dedication and contribution of our employees. We are extremely proud of you.
3年前，尽管安刀妹在美国上市遇到了挫折，但是我们坚定上市的目标不动摇，克服重重困难，在今年的8月2日，成功完成了安刀妹与沙龙达的重组上市。
So we are extremely proud of you, and back to that, although we experienced the painful setback 3 years ago in our attempt of floating the company in New York, we have never shaken a bit in our objective of listing the company. By overcoming one challenges after another, we went public successfully on August the 2nd this year by restructuring and merging Adama with Sononda.
安刀妹和中国农化这个业务整合的工作也是取得了显著的成效。UC 先生领导我们中国的这个销售团队，取得了非常好的销售业绩。埃希瑞、码农、诺斯维举家前往中国，为安刀妹在中国的发展做出了 积极的贡献。
So far, we have made great progress in business integration. I would like to give special thanks to Mr. Yossi, who have done a great work in leading the sales team, and I also would like to give my gratitude for the dedication of Siri, Zvi, Ziki, and many other colleagues who relocated with their family to work and live in China and planted their feet firmly into the Chinese soil, making great contribution to the development of Adama in China.
安刀妹回安制剂项目经过3年建设，正在投入生产之中。在项目建设过程中，约瑟夫先生身患重症，在化疗的过程中，以乐观向上、不屈不挠的精神与病魔做顽强的斗争，为项目建设做出了卓越的贡献。
Thanks to 3 years of hard work, Adama's new formulation plant in the city of Huai'an have been up and running. This success has to be attributable to an individual, Yosef, who fought a courageous, heroic, and relentless battle against his serious illness throughout the construction of the project and made great contribution to the completion of the formulation plant.
从约瑟夫的身上，我再次看到了我们安达麦的员工们顽强不息、坚韧卓绝的民族精神。也正是因为我们有很多像约瑟夫这样的不畏挑战、勇于奉献的人，我们才能够取得今天的成功。
From Yosef, I myself again have learned and appreciated the resilient and perseverant spirit of the Jewish nation. It is thanks to you, so many Yosef of you, who dare to brave challenges and be willing to sacrifice, that we are able to achieve so many successes so far.
这次我代表中国化工集团公司董事长任建新，代表中国化工集团向我们安刀妹的全体员工致以诚挚的节日祝福，向你们的辛勤努力与无私的奉献表示最衷心的感谢。
Please allow me to take this opportunity to extend my best festival wishes to all of you from Adama on behalf of Mr. Ren Jianxin, Chairman of ChemChina, and on behalf of all ChemChina employees. Thank you very much for your great dedication and contribution.
2017年，先正达正式成为中国化工大家庭的一员。大家都知道，先正达是一家全球领先的农业科技公司，拥有悠久的历史，是名副其实的百年老店，是全球第1大农药和第3大种子公司，拥有全球领先的原创农药开发以及种子研发技术，是全球在农业投入品方面研发投入最大的公司之一，拥有专利超过13000件。
In 2017, we also embraced Syngenta into ChemChina family. As an agricultural science and technology company, Syngenta boasts time-honored history of over 100 years. It is the world's #1 crop protection player and #3 seeds company, with leading R&D-based CP development and seeds development and the breeding technologies. Syngenta is one of the companies with the largest R&D investment in farm inputs in the agricultural industry, owning more than 13,000 patents worldwide.
先正达进入中国化工之后，中国化工将尊重先正达的企业文化，建立高水平的国际治理标准，保持企业管理的连续性，充分发挥先正达管理层的作用，实现平稳过渡。中国化工也将充分发挥先正达、安刀妹的优势，打造全球一流的农化高科技企业。
As its new owner, ChemChina will respect Syngenta's corporate culture and be committed to the highest standard of corporate governance in order to maintain the continuity of management, give full play to the role of its management team, and ensure smooth transition. ChemChina will help fully bring out Syngenta and Adama's respective strengths and advantages to build ourselves into the world's leading agricultural high-tech company, combining patented and generic CP as well as modern seeds business.
展望未来，我对安刀妹的发展充满信心。我坚信，秉承创新开拓精神，安刀妹必将乘风破浪，取得更大的成功。预祝安刀妹中国文化月活动取得圆满成功。谢谢大家。
Looking to the future, I stay confident in Adama. I believe by carrying forward our innovative and enterprising spirit, Adama will bring winds and waves on its way towards even greater successes. I wish the China Cultural Month in Israel in resounding success. Thank you.
各位同事，大家下午好。我叫康欣，我在安道麦北京办公室工作。今天是我加入安道麦大家庭的第2个月零25天的时间。作为一名中国人，也作为一名新加入安道麦大家庭的新成员，我非常欣喜，我在以色列的同事们有这样一个好的机会，可以接触到、了解更多的中国文化。Good afternoon, my colleagues. I'm Karen Kang. I'm a newcomer of Adama family. I'm working in Adama Beijing office. Today is the 25th day of the 3rd month in Adama. As a Chinese and also as a new member of Adama family, I'm so excited to see that my colleagues in Israel has such a good opportunity to learn more about Chinese culture. Now, I would like to invite our CEO, Han, Han is his Chinese name, Han, to give us a speech. Thank you.
President of ChemChina and my friend, Mr. Yang. And of course, also listening to Karen, or Xin as her Chinese name, who just joined us. Thinking where we were a few years ago, thinking where Adama was when we joined forces with ChemChina, and thinking where ChemChina was. And those of us who remember, we joined in 2010. Adicio was the first one, I think is 2005, 4, something like this. So, you know, just looking at what ChemChina was at that time and what it is today. With Pirelli, with Krauss-Maffei, anyone who's driving a German car is using Krauss-Maffei technology, any car. Pirelli and Syngenta. So when Mr. Ren said a few years ago, when we were doing the Crystal project of the North Star of Adama, we met with Mr. Ren, and he said to us, "You'll be number one in China, and we'll be number one in the world." Little that we know how quickly this task was achieved. But this event is not about business. It's about us, it's about people, it's about culture. When we joined ChemChina, the goal that we set to ourselves was to become a global crop protection business. And as I mentioned, both ourselves in those years and ChemChina as a group flourished. So when we started with ChemChina, we were pretty much on our knees. EBITDA of the group, profit of the group, was about $260 million in 2010, after adjustments. Before the adjustment, it was much worse. And then the leverage of the group was more than 4 times of the leverage of our group versus this EBITDA. Today, the EBITDA of our group, even before the combination with Sanonda, is way more than $500 million. With Sanonda, we will be $600 million and more. the leverage of the group has gone down to 1.4 times only. A lot of this has stemmed from the relationship with ChemChina. So we're celebrating this very special partnership, this very special getting together. And we also celebrate the 25 years of diplomatic relationships between China and Israel. The first thought that I had about holding this event came to my mind in April of this year, when many of us were attending the Israel Culture Month in Beijing. So our chairman just mentioned, ChemChina has already conducted several of these cultural months, and we were the third one in this series. And during that event, we were all in the lobby of ChemChina in Beijing. Mr. Ren was the main speaker together with the Israeli ambassador to Beijing. And basically, when I stood outside on the terrace of ChemChina and I watched, there were these two huge columns with the two flags of China and Israel, and thousands of people that were driving on the 4th Ring Road of Beijing were able for the first time to see those flags in front of the main ChemChina building. So when I watched, I kind of thought to myself, you know, ChemChina today is the most advanced, the most international, the most developing company in China. There is no company in China that has made more acquisitions outside, not just within the government-controlled companies, in China, full stop. There is no company in China that makes so much of its revenues and so much of its profits and has got so many employees outside of China as ChemChina does today. The acquisition of Syngenta was a financing exercise of $50 billion that our group managed to deliver. There are very few people working in that building. I think it's about 100 to 200 people max in the entire building. They managed to get all of this done. And ChemChina is about 12 or 14 years old, that's all, the group. So this amazing enterprise chose to team up with us, an up-and-coming, Israeli-based player in agrochemicals 7 years ago. And it would be logical or sensible that we will be the first ones to try to have some sort of a cultural month for Chinese culture. I mean, they're the big ones, we're the small ones. But they beat us to it. They did it first. They cared enough about our culture from Israel, 7.5 million people, to have this experience to all of ChemChina's employees in China. So this event was transmitted to all locations of ChemChina within China. The number of employees of ChemChina within China is around 100,000 people. So they all had the opportunity to share in our culture. And this is when I thought, gee, you know, of course we are late, but let's try to do it. And I think that also if we listen carefully to what Mr. Yang said to us, the notion of putting yourself in the other person's shoes, so relevant to us in so many situations, in our families, in our social life, in work, in negotiations, in acquisitions, in partnerships, in so many situations in life. And typically we tend to be like this. The Chinese, like this. The notion of ChemChina is to learn from each one of the cultures, the business cultures, the human culture, the spiritual cultures, the social cultures with which they interact. And this is a treasure. As long as you learn from the other, as long as you're open, as long as you're listening, you're attentive, you progress. The moment you think you are above, the moment you shut yourself vis-a-vis the other person or the world, you stop progressing. And the advancement of China and the advancement of Chem China is a lot to do to this exact interest and curiosity in the culture of the other. In all of the acquisitions that Chem China has made, and Chairman Yang mentioned, there are 10 global groups that form part of the Chem China family today. All management teams remained in place. Everybody who reads literature about merger activities, about acquisitions, especially cross-culture, cross-country, the failure rate is around 50%. Chem China, not a single team of management chose to leave the groups after joining Chem China. And in fact, all of our groups are doing much better as part of the family. When Chem China took over control of Adama and we became a member of the family, of the Chem China family, not only that nobody was asked to come from the center, to come and manage Adama or change the culture, the business culture, or the management culture, or the operational culture of our business, but Chem China invited me to come to Beijing and to try to help integrating, connecting both the hard elements and the soft elements between our teams. It's basically the same notion as it is today when we combine Adama and Sanonda to create the combined Adama group. The management of this group is the same global management, centered in Israel, with Chinese colleagues who are joining, that will run the combined group. Same approach. The approach is that the most appropriate people, the most experienced, the most relevant, never mind what is their specific background, are chosen to lead. Not because of hierarchy, not because of power, because of the notion of thought leadership. Who's the most thoughtful? Who is eager to learn? Who's curious? Who can implement? Who can execute? Who can have people follow without formal authority? This is the power of Chem China, the true power of the group. And this is what gives myself, and I believe all of us, the passion to be a member of our group. So the notion of this cultural month is to understand better the other culture, to understand where China is coming from, where all this approach is coming from. What is the yin and the yang? The combination of things that are different. The ability to hold Syngenta and Adama in one family. Different, but together. Distinct, but working in collaboration. Not very many Western-type groups would be so wise. This approach, which makes Chinese culture and Chem China's culture, it makes them very close to Israeli and Jewish values and culture. The heroes of Jewish culture are not the kings. They are not the army generals. The heroes of Jewish cultures are the people who contributed the most to global values, to universal values. People like Albert Einstein, Sigmund Freud, Karl Marx. Those are the people that we remember. People like the Rambam. Those are the people that we in the Jewish culture favor most. Not our kings, not our army generals. And this, to a huge extent, fits with the way the Chinese culture and the culture of Chem China also works. Adama is founded on the core ideals and the vision of the State of Israel. Adama is started as מכתשים and Agan from the southern part of Israel, from the Negev, in a great way, supported by the same people, by the vision of Ben Gurion, by the labor movement that was run by Ben Gurion, by Shimon Peres. They were the founders of our company. And today, we're able to combine this culture, our culture, which is very much intertwined with the State of Israel and with the values that started this state, with another ancient culture of China. Both our peoples come from, we talk about 5,000 years, ancient cultures. The respect that we have, and Chairman Yang was mentioning, to family values, to traditions, to the elderly, to the legacy of where we come from, is shared by the two nations. And of course, the huge importance to education and to scholarly achievement. So interestingly, while both China and Israel come from long-standing civilizations, the modern nationhood of both countries is about the same age. So the People's Republic of China was founded in 1949, State of Israel, 1948. Persistence, hard work, ingenuity, relentless drive towards innovation moved each of our two countries to achieve noteworthy global achievements over the last several decades. In scientific discovery, in high tech, in agriculture, in economic and social development. Mr. Yang mentioned the One Belt, One Road initiative, which is the China outreach program. But if we think about what has been achieved by China domestically in the last 2 or 3 decades, it's something which no modern society or no society has ever managed to achieve in such a short time frame in the history of mankind. The ability to move hundreds of millions of people out of poverty into pension system, social security system, health system, unprecedented. So these are the values that have been achieved by China and the tremendous contribution to a huge number of people on our planet. When we started our journey, despite all those big things that were achieved by China, I remember the same Yossi, or Yosef as you call him, President Yang. Is Yossi here? Yossi is here. Yossi Michaeli. Same Yossi and myself were in my office when I was running the operations of Adama, and we were very, very concerned. Very concerned. We were concerned that joining the Chem China group will take away what we knew Adama to be at the time. We thought that our facilities, that our people in Israel may be hurt, and that maybe things that we cannot foresee, bad things may happen. Today, flags just like this that we saw when we got in here this morning, the Chinese flag and the Israeli flag are waving in the wind ahead of continuously, not just when we have guests, but when you go into Adama מכתשים or Adama Agan. And anyone who remembers how the plants look like at the time can tell what profound improvement has happened since then. and how the people in all of our facilities, in Israel and abroad, are satisfied to be members of Adama and the ChemChina Group today. Deep affirmation of the partnership and the breadth of the collaboration between Adama and ChemChina. In fact, Adama is now in the best position that it has ever been. ChemChina supported our long-term thinking, provided commitment and trust. We had today a visit of SASAC. SASAC is the state-owned, this is the state, is the owner of ChemChina, and many other enterprises in China. State-owned that basically monitors, oversees all the assets of the state council, so the central assets of the country. And he was mentioning, the senior person was mentioning that yesterday, when I met with them, I introduced our team members, but I did not introduce myself. So he said to me, why don't you introduce yourself? I said, I only introduce my people. If somebody wants to introduce me, it's my chairman. So today, the first thing when Mr. Yang joined our discussion, without me asking him, he introduced me. And then the person from SASAC said, guys, this is like, you guys are working like brothers. The level of trust, very high. I did not have to ask, I did not have to remind. It was natural. And in tough moments, Mr. Yang mentioned when we had to pull our IPO in New York. At that night, when we were in New York, Mr. Yang was with me. And we were trying, we did not sleep that night. The two of us trying to save the process, to bring in money. And ChemChina was willing to buy the entire IPO, but it would not be appropriate. So there is tremendous level of support, of trust. And from this, we can create the immense value that we have been creating in the group in the last several years since we joined the group. It benefits our company, benefits our people sitting here, communities in which we operate, in Israel, in China, and globally. And of course, when we see the value today of the combined company on the Shenzhen Stock Exchange, I hope that ChemChina itself, China as a country, and the Chinese people also see huge value in their investment, much more than double of what they invested. More than ever, we're making unprecedented investments in our facilities, in new products, in innovation, in the Global R&D Center in Neot Chovav, in the Nanjing R&D Center, which is now starting to recruit top talent in China. Relationship with our employees all over the world, and also in Israel, is based on mutual understanding, on harmony and cooperation. And I mentioned in the Rosh Hashanah toasts in the plants that there is not a single person in the audience that is not making today much more than he used to make before we joined the group. Everybody is satisfied. And it's been a tough period, as Chairman Yang mentioned. So, as we can see, the connection between the cultures is very strong. And this connection goes back farther than the 25 years of formal diplomatic relations between the countries. In fact, China has been a long-time friend of the Jewish people, even during the Second World War. And this is my last point about the flags. When I saw the flags waving in the wind in Beijing, and the ambassador of Israel who was there mentioned that he was, before being the ambassador to Beijing, he was the ambassador to Vienna, to Austria. And he put a plaque on the building of the Chinese embassy, the old Chinese embassy in Vienna, where thousands of visas were granted to Jews during the Second World War. So I mentioned then, and I want to mention also here today. The brother of my grandfather and his wife were not able to leave Austria. My grandfather managed to go to Israel, so our family was in Israel already, but his brother was not. And he was granted a visa and spent with his family. 2 cousins of my father were born and spoke Mandarin. They were born in Shanghai. So basically, half of our family was saved by this embassy of China to Vienna. And basically, these were years where China was also under tremendous hardship. China was under the foot of Japan. And many countries in the West have shut their doors and shut their hearts to our people. So when we think about similarities and differences, who do we feel more connected with or less connected with? The West versus China, in bold terms. Let's remember that. Who was there to help us when the West was against us? So, just to finalize, our partnership with ChemChina is a winning combination in many ways, and we're very excited to have you, Chairman Yang, join us to start this China Cultural Month in Adama. Let's enjoy these festivities today and for the next several weeks. Thank you.
Before we conclude, I don't know who went and had lunch today, but I'm sure most of you had the noodles. So there is a very unique story behind the noodles we all ate. I even ate it, even though I'm not supposed to. So we also have the whole team here with us today. So I want to tell you the story of the noodles, which is called Malan noodle soup. But the recipe was invented 200 years ago. They wanted to share with us today the way they cook the noodles, but unfortunately we were not able to. You know, our flour, the Jewish flour, is not good enough. Approximately 30 years ago, Chairman Ren, the founding president of ChemChina, opened the first Malan noodle restaurant in Lanzhou, serving these special noodles. His unique recipe was highly regarded by the local residents. In 1996, the restaurant was moved to Beijing. The brand of Malan noodle was established with the Malan noodle fast food chain. It's now a very famous chain in China. The chain experienced great success, and as a result, a folk snack had become a modern fast food phenomenon. So whenever we visit the headquarters in Beijing, we always love to eat those noodles, and today and tomorrow and the day after, you can all enjoy it as well in the dining room, and you're all invited. So please, let's give a thank to the great people who came all the way from China to share with us this beautiful noodle.